During the pre-operational stage, according to Piaget, children can solve not only this simple problem, which they can actually solve after 9 months, or at around that age, but they also show a wide variety of other symbolic representational capabilities, such as those involved in drawing and using language. However, 2 to 7-year-olds tend to focus on a single dimension, even when solving problems would require them to consider multiple dimensions. This is evident in Piaget's conservation problems from 1952. For example, if a glass of water is poured into a taller, thinner glass, children below age 7 generally say that there is now more water than before. Similarly, if a clay ball is reshaped into a long, thin sausage, they claim that there is now more clay. And if a row of coins is spread out, they claim that there are now more coins. In all cases, the children are focusing on one dimension while ignoring the changes in other dimensions. For example, the greater width of the glass and the clay ball. Children overcome this tendency to focus on a single dimension during the concrete operations stage and think logically in most situations. However, according to Piaget, they still cannot think in a systematic, scientific way, even when such thinking would be useful. Thus, if asked to find out which variables influence the period that a pendulum takes to complete its arc, and given weights that they can attach to strings in order to do experiments with the pendulum to find out, most children younger than age 12 perform biased experiments from which no conclusion can be drawn, and then conclude that whatever they originally believed is correct. For example, if a boy believed that weight was the only variable that mattered, he might put the heaviest weight on the shortest string and push it the hardest, and then conclude just what he thought. Weight is the only variable that matters. Finally, in the formal operations period, children attain the reasoning powers of mature adults, which allows them to solve the pendulum problem and a wide range of other problems. However, this formal operations stage tends not to occur without exposure to formal education in scientific reasoning, and appears to be largely or completely absent from some societies that do not provide this type of education. Although Piaget's theory has been very influential, it has not gone unchallenged. Many more recent researchers have obtained findings indicating that cognitive development is considered more continuous than Piaget claimed. For example, Diamond found that on object permanence tasks, infants show earlier knowledge if the waiting period is shorter. So, at 6 months of age, they retrieve the hidden object if the wait is no longer than 2 seconds. At 7 months, they retrieve it if the wait is no longer than 4 seconds, and so on. Even earlier, at 3 or 4 months of age, infants show surprise in the form of longer looking times if objects suddenly appear to vanish with no obvious cause. Children's specific experiences can greatly influence when developmental changes occur. Children of pottery makers in Mexican villages, for example, know that reshaping clay does not change the amount of clay at much younger ages than children who do not have an experience like this. So, is cognitive development fundamentally continuous or fundamentally discontinuous? A reasonable answer seems to be it depends on how you look at it and how often you look. For example, under some circumstances, infants show early forms of object permanence by 3 or 4 months, and they gradually extend the range of times for which they can remember hidden objects as they grow older. However, on Piaget's original object permanence task, infants do quite quickly change toward the end of the first year, from not reaching for hidden objects to reaching for them, even after they've experienced a substantial delay before being allowed to reach. Thus, the debate between those who emphasize discontinuous stage-like changes in cognitive development and those who emphasize gradual, continuous changes remains a very lively one. Cognitive Development in Childhood by Robert Siegler is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 4.0 International License.